English dude, two-tier queer Keir Starmer. Son, now listen to me. Life is not always like a box of chocolates. That Keir Starmer is as stupid as mud.
You get taxed on what you buy, and you get taxed on what you own. And it's like, okay, this is taxes, taxes, taxes.
The UK is spiralling. Those aren't my words. They're Elon Musk's brutal assessment of Britain under Keir Starmer's watch. While the mainstream media downplays this clash of titans, I'm here to give you the uncensored story they don't want you to hear. Musk isn't just throwing empty criticisms around. He's calling out Starmer's leadership for what it truly is, a masterclass in saying everything while doing nothing. With housing crises deepening and inflation crushing working families, Musk's intervention comes at a critical moment for a nation desperately searching for authentic leadership. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. The Britain that Elon Musk has taken aim at isn't merely experiencing a temporary downturn, it's a nation in serious decline. Under Starmer's leadership, the country faces a perfect storm of crises that are crushing ordinary citizens, while the government appears disconnected from their suffering.
Visit Britain, because they're gonna drag out some tweet and say 2 years in prison for this tweet or something like that,
The housing market has become completely unattainable for millions, with first-time buyers priced out of even modest homes in most regions. Meanwhile, stubborn inflation continues to decimate household budgets, with essentials like food and energy consuming an ever larger portion of family incomes. The NHS, once the crown jewel of British public services, now teeters on the brink. Waiting times have exploded, staff morale has collapsed, and patients increasingly find themselves navigating a system that seems designed to deny rather than deliver care. These aren't isolated challenges. They represent the systematic erosion of Britain's social fabric. What makes this situation particularly galling is the gap between Starmer's promises and his performance. When campaigning, he positioned himself as the practical problem solver Britain needed, someone who would tackle these issues head-on. Yet his governance has been characterised by a remarkable avoidance of difficult decisions, preferring political triangulation over meaningful action. His approval ratings have plummeted to an astonishing -38, a catastrophic collapse that speaks volumes about public disillusionment. Starmer exemplifies a particular brand of modern politician who attempts to be all things to all people. He presents different faces to different audiences, creating a leadership vacuum where vision and substance should be.
English dude, two-tier queer Keir Starmer. Son, now listen to me. Life is not always like a box of chocolates. That Keir Starmer is as stupid as mud.
His approach seems designed to say the right things without actually doing anything, leaving the British public with plenty of rhetoric, but precious little relief. The result is a peculiar form of governance, where activity substitutes for achievement. The consequences for everyday Britons couldn't be more tangible. Families are forced to choose between heating and eating. Young professionals abandon dreams of home ownership. Patients languish on waiting lists while their conditions worsen. These aren't abstract policy failures. They're lived experiences that are fundamentally reshaping British society, and not for the better. Is it any wonder then that someone like Elon Musk, with his history of disrupting industries and challenging established thinking, would see the situation so differently than Starmer?
You get taxed on what you buy, and you get taxed on what you own. And it's like, okay, this is taxes, taxes, taxes.
Where political insiders see complexity requiring careful management, Musk sees problems demanding solutions. The contrast couldn't be starker. That fundamental difference in approach explains why Musk's recent declaration that Britain is spiralling struck Downing Street like a thunderbolt. His assertion that civil war is inevitable wasn't just another tech billionaire's hot take. It was a deliberate challenge to a political establishment that refuses to acknowledge the gravity of Britain's situation. While riots targeting mosques and Muslim communities provided the immediate context for Musk's comments, his critique cut much deeper, highlighting a leadership vacuum where substantive solutions should be.
Are safe. And that's why I say, again, anybody involving themselves in this disorder.
The establishment's response revealed far more than they intended. Rather than addressing Musk's substantive concerns about Britain's trajectory, Starmer immediately shifted to deflection mode. When pressed about Musk's criticisms, the Prime Minister pivoted to safer ground, stating that most people are more interested in what's going to happen to the NHS, frankly. This instinctive avoidance of difficult conversations exemplifies precisely the leadership deficit Musk was highlighting.
Look, Elon, if you don't delete those ex-posts, I'll have no choice but to label you a far-right thug.
That's not too bad, I was expecting worse.
Wait, what?
Even more telling was the establishment's broader reaction. Westminster elites, including Starmer's own biographer, swiftly called for increased regulation of social media platforms, a thinly veiled attempt to silence voices they cannot control. This authoritarian reflex demonstrates a fundamental misunderstanding of the problem. When criticism triggers demands for censorship rather than self-reflection, it only confirms the bankruptcy of ideas within the corridors of power. What makes this confrontation so fascinating is how it exposes the chasm between two leadership philosophies. Musk built his fortune by identifying problems and creating innovative solutions, whether launching rockets to Mars or revolutionizing electric vehicles. He approaches challenges with an engineer's mindset. Systems are either working or they're not, and those that aren't must be fixed or replaced.
I know that's the way democracy works, but democracy also works in that when millions of people are very unhappy about a situation and feeling desperate about their country.
This stands in stark contrast to Starmer's political approach, where appearances often matter more than outcomes and difficult problems are managed rather than solved. The public resonance of Musk's criticism stems from their authenticity. While political figures offer carefully crafted statements designed to offend no one, Musk bluntly states what millions already sense. Britain's institutions are failing its people, while its leadership class seems more concerned with maintaining the status quo than implementing meaningful change. His willingness to stand his ground, despite the predictable backlash, demonstrates exactly the courage that's missing from conventional politics. What we're witnessing isn't just another celebrity taking potshots at a politician. It's a fundamental clash between two leadership philosophies: Musk's action-oriented problem-solving versus Starmer's rhetorical gymnastics. The British public doesn't need more speeches or debates. They need tangible solutions for the housing crisis and inflation. They're tired of political games where nothing happens except more public posturing. Starmer's approval rating collapse tells us everything. Voters have reached the same conclusion as Musk. Britain is desperate for authentic leadership focused on delivering results, not political theatre. The question now isn't whether Musk was right, but whether Britain will find the leadership it desperately needs before it's too late.